Hey, all right. Good morning, everybody, and thank you guys for joining us this morning for this webinar. Let's get started here. Just a little bit about myself for those of you who are new to Apex Accelerator. I've been teaching for Apex, formerly known as Maryland PTAC, way back in 2012. I'll put it that way. So I've been around and been in the training field most of my career, as well as federal government contracting. So I hope that the information that I'm sharing with you today will resonate with you, and it'll be something that you can use to help grow your companies in the future. I started my own company back in 2006, and that's exactly what I've been doing, is providing services to federal contracting companies and startups and future entrepreneurs to be. So let's get started. You can read a little more about my background on the slides. Okay, let's talk about our agenda today. It's just an overview of the main things we're going to cover today, and that includes definitions for the various terms used in government contracting. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of teaming, what it means and what it means to your company and to the subcontractor or the teaming partner. We're going to talk about the teaming arrangement versus the teaming agreement. And we're going to discuss the definition of a CTA, a contract teaming arrangement, and a partnership. We'll also cover teaming arrangements, agreements, versus prime subcontractor agreements. And we'll talk about how partnering works. The basics of federal government contracting will be covered as well. And, that is just to give you an idea how all of this works together to bring two companies together to actually team and then do subcontracting projects together. We'll talk about the various small business set-asides that help you get to where you want to go, and the best practicing for subcontracting, and the advantages. And of course, last but not least, the agreement document itself and how important it is, and how having a good solid agreement helps alleviate some of the headaches that would be in teaming with other companies. Okay, and then we'll have our summary. So let's start from the beginning. We're going to define each area that we're talking about today. And, first of all, we're talking about teaming, subcontracting, partnering. And let's talk about what does teaming mean in government contracting, okay? A teaming agreement is a legal contract entered into by the government contractor and another party. These agreements are very common in the government-related contracting area, and they are used by government contractors who want to find work with partners or other companies that can increase the effectiveness of their jobs. Teaming agreements are regulated by the government's Federal Acquisition Regulations manual. It's called the FAR. And those of you who are new to government contracting, the FAR is I like to call it the Bible of federal contracting. It talks about all areas of federal contracting and what the rules are. So it's good to have someone who's familiar with the FAR, if you're not already familiar with the FAR, to help you navigate through the process. So you're doing things according to procedures. If you've ever looked at a solicitation document, you will see FAR regulations listed as clauses, or under your representations and certifications that's included in your contracts, which is kind of filtered up from the RFP document, is all directly related to the performance of your contract. Okay, so just make sure that you have someone who understands the FAR and can easily direct you in the right way to make sure you're in compliance. Because if not, you're going to get pinged by the government if things are not happening accordingly. But just wanted to give that little caveat in case you're new, because the government is all about dealing with contractors and helping them grow, but you got to play the game according to the rules. Okay. So let's talk about the pros and cons. Well, the pros first. The pros of the teaming agreement. Well, when you're looking to grow your company, and as a prime contractor, and you sometimes come across requirements from the government that are not well, it's not 100% what your company can provide, but you have maybe 75% of the requirements for that bid. And so it kind of puts you in a position to kind of reevaluate, well, what should I go after this bid or not? And that's the time when prime contractors start looking at other companies who complement them, who have services they may need it to provide the complete solution for the government agency you're responding to. So they go out and they bring in qualified companies to help them provide a total solution to the government solicitations. And that's what's called by teaming. So you come together and you produce a proposal as two companies, the initiating company, the prime contractor, is the one who holds the contract award, and the other company can be, uh, a company that has some past performance or knowledge or some experts in that field who can come aboard and do a portion of that work. So let's talk about the actual teaming agreement, and what that means. Teaming agreements can be extremely beneficial for some contractors, but can also have a negative element depending on the situation. And let's talk about some of the pros, and then the next slide, we'll talk about the cons. It allows the contractor to build a team that partnering with an individual or firm that can contribute their resources, skills, and knowledge in the particular area, okay? Teaming agreement parties are pretty much obligated to perform the work they agree upon with one another without worrying about any employee being brought into the picture for the same job. So that means, you will perform your portion of the work with your personnel as an organization, and the subcontractor or teaming partner will bring to bear their team of people that will support that particular effort. Individuals or companies are able to bring their diversity and differing mindsets to the table to get the job done without having to work for the same entity right off the bat. Okay. The contractors are asked to provide the estimates for what the cost will be for upfront, so that the risks are minimized. And normally this is really how it works in government contracting. You have to come to terms on all of the teaming agreement language and the government language, and also on what part of the work you're going to perform and how much you're going to charge that prime contractor. As you know, federal contracting is competitive, so you have to be willing to negotiate and talk with the people you bring on to make sure that they're a good fit for you, and that you can all agree on the same terms and perform that work well, okay? And at the same time, you have to protect your company against any liabilities maybe that may arise, or risks that you take in bringing on another company, because you as a prime contractor will have to manage that subcontractor to make sure that they're doing their portion of work well. Because when you go into business with the government, you want to keep your company's reputation immaculate, okay? And so you bring on companies who can just complement that. Okay, make sure you check the people out before they come, before you decide to actually team with them on any effort, and make sure that they have integrity, and that you have a synergy with them, one that you could probably work with, you know, throughout the life of your contract as both companies grow from teaming together. So keep that in mind. As long as subcontracting laws are followed, the teaming agreement parties will not be viewed as affiliates. So small business rules will not be of a concern for the temporary workers. So, that's just letting you know that your work will not be replaced by other employees unless something goes wrong in the agreement, as if you're awarded that particular proposal and you start performing work, that the agreement will be throughout the life of the contract, and that you'll continue to get subcontract option years awarded, unless there's some problem with your performance. In fact, unfortunately, you may have to terminate a subcontract. And then the prime contract is allowed time to go out and find another sub to replace your company, unless the government decides, well, now that you have the experience here, then you can go ahead and do this contract alone. But you have to tell you about the pros and cons, so you know what you're getting into when you start teaming with other companies. So let's talk a little bit about the cons. The sections need to be very carefully written in your agreement, and this is a legal document you're doing, okay? And I've written many of these agreements as contract administrator throughout my career. And you write the agreement from a standard template that you might get for teaming agreements, and then you can massage it and make it your own company's document. Make sure that it's applicable to the type of business you have, and that you are transparent with the teaming partner about the status of your company, and so that the potential sub feels good about the relationship, and that they will get value out of teaming with the prime contractor. Okay, the agreements typically apply to one project or contract at a time, okay? And the specific duties and responsibilities that are assigned to the subcontractor are listed in the teaming agreement, okay? And usually we put that in the back of the document under the Exhibit A, and it explains what the work share is going to be. It also will probably state whether that work share is in sharing the total dollar amount of the contract, or in total number of FTEs that are being proposed under that particular contract. And that can go for if you have a product that you're selling versus people that you're providing. So, you still would do it the same way, and show the division of work, and make it clear that the prime will be managing the sub, and the situations that could come up that would cause some kind of conflict between the two companies, how you will resolve those things. I've been doing this for many years now, and I've only seen maybe a handful, if that, of agreements that didn't work out for a particular contract. Um, so, choose wisely when you look for teaming partners. Um, or you're the sub and you're looking for a prime to give you a few positions on a bid to give you past performance, or you bring to the table that special expertise that they've been looking for. Okay, just make sure that you can live through that contract arrangement, that you're going to be paid on time. You know, so all of that's in that teaming agreement. It talks about payment terms and how that will affect the work you're doing. Okay, how often you'll get paid. And I know that's a particular concern to small businesses, because small businesses, don't have as many resources out there as the larger companies. So, how and when payments are received is important. And so getting invoices out and how the subcontractor submits their invoices into the prime to get payment, stuff like that. And also the transparency that the subcontractor has to assume when there are a subcontractor. It should be transparent to the government that there's a subcontractor, because you and that prime, the teaming partner and the prime, work together as a complete team. They will wear badges from the prime contractor's company, and if they're working on site, they'll be there representing that prime contractor. And so they're not going to be going out and marketing their company services to the prime's clients and stuff like that, you know. So please think about that. You have to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And the relationship can go a long way, really it can. Once the subcontractor gets larger and start getting more work, then between the prime and the sub on that particular project, you can work together on other projects of similar scope and requirements. So, that team mentality is a good thing, and the government is favorable to teaming. So think about that. Um, so you need to make sure that somebody is policing and trying to mitigate any problems that might come up before they occur. So if you might hear the term organizational conflict. Let's say if you're bringing on a subcontractor and they've had some issues working with that same agency, okay? Then you have to disclose if there's been any organizational conflict of interest, okay? So make sure that before you come together with another company, those things are checked off. And many, many times in the particular agency you're doing work with or proposing to do work with will ask you to disclose whether you've had any organizational conflict with any agencies that you deal with. So keep in mind this, and usually they'll ask you to sign off on that and tell you the process for describing what those conflicts are or what they may be. Okay, so keep that in mind. And because you want to be transparent with the government, make sure truth's out, because stuff can come out later. All right. So that's just a little bit of cons, and take your time to kind of read the specifics there in your own time. But, be careful as you pick your teaming people, okay? Your teaming companies, and, make sure that they're legitimate. If you have to do a background check, if you don't know them or you haven't gotten a good reference from somebody on them, before you jump in with them, because you want it to be something that, you guys can build on as you grow your companies together. So we have several types of agreements that are a little bit different from each other, and I want you to understand what else can be utilized as you are in government contracting. So what is a contractor teaming arrangement? Called a CTA. Okay. Now, if I was just getting a company to work with me on a particular solicitation to win, then that would be a teaming agreement, okay, in general, regardless of the agency. When someone refers to a contract teaming arrangement or a CTA, you'll see those acronyms. That's under prime contractors who have contracts under the GSA mass schedule. Okay. So the GSA is General Services Administration, that particular agency. Okay. So our CTA arrangement is between two or more GSA scheduled contractors who work together to compete for and fulfill schedule orders. The terms of the arrangement are negotiated between the contractors, so it's not dictated by GSA. Okay. So this is something that's strictly under the GSA side. So the prime contractors who have GSA schedules may look for subs to help them again meet that piece of the puzzle that's missing so that they can complete the services they want to provide to their clients. So keep, that could be a marketing uh, route for some smaller companies who want to gain past performance. If you might have worked in the private sector in the area and you have the expertise and you want to grow and get access and understand how the government contracting round works. So the ideal thing would be to look to larger companies to, get aboard with them and become a teaming partner or do a CTA arrangement. So these are things you could do once you find out that the prime has a GSA mass. Maybe show them what you can provide to enhance what they already have. And that could come to bear doing that agreement, okay? Each party keeps his own legal entity using contractor teaming agreements and other teaming arrangements under the FAR or agency regulations is the preferred method for two or more companies to bid on or work together on a new federal contract. Okay. So, keep that in mind about the contract teaming arrangement. So first of all, you can team in general and work with most of the civilian and DoD companies as a team, or you can have a specialized contract teaming arrangement or CTA. The beauty of this is it's not a legal arrangement, but the government will look at the past performance from both entities as a whole unit. Similar to how, if you ever heard of a joint venture would be where two companies come together and actually form a separate entity name and they work for the government. This is not something that you have to go out and get a separate name for or do anything with, but it's an agreement, a legal document that binds you together as a contract teaming arrangement. And both companies will provide rates from their GSA mass, and as they're awarded, it'll be awarded to under the lead team, but it's overall evaluated as one unit. So again, that's another way to get the total past performance is required when that's lacking, when you're looking at a requirement that's, wow, this looks like our company, but I don't have XYZ, and maybe recruiting those people or that expertise is difficult. So you might consider this kind of arrangement, okay? So now let's talk about partnerships and a CTA, okay? Again, if you think about it, literally, you are partnering with somebody when you join together for CTA. But there's another legal entity called a partnership where two companies come together and legally, again, sign documents to form a partnership under a different name. It's similar to a JV, like I mentioned, a joint venture, okay? But you still maintain your company name and all of that. And you're able to do business and again, still share experience for that will be qualified by the government like it was one entity, okay? CTA differs from a partnership between a prime contractor and a subcontractor in that all members of the team are equal partners and to the contract. Other important differences are detailed below. Each team member must have a GSA schedule contract. Only the prime contractor must have a GSA schedule contract with this form of partnering, okay? So now, this whole process is kind of like piggybacks on each other. When you first start looking for people to team with, companies to team with, you're gonna, it's the first step in that arrangement. And hopefully if you're successful and win that bid, now you will do a subcontract. So the person goes from a teaming partner to a subcontractor once the contract is awarded, okay? So that's how it flows. So it could go from any of the preliminary ways that you team to being a subcontractor. That's the ultimate goal. Prime and subcontractor agreements in the government procurement system are probably more familiar to most people than teaming agreements, okay? But teaming agreement is the thing that pivots it when you're building your responses to the government or looking for ways to develop the perfect team to do that particular or go after that particular requirement. When a normal prime and subcontractor relationship, prime contractors work directly with the government. They manage any subcontractors and are responsible for ensuring the work is completed as defined in the contract. And again, I mentioned, you have to manage your sub, okay? That's a part of the prime's duty. You just don't give them a portion of work and go away. You can't do that. You need to be managing the sub as though they're your regular staff, okay? So keep that in mind as you go out and start teaming and partnering with other companies. Does anybody have any questions right now that you'd like to put out before we move further?
Hi, Arlene. I'd just like to welcome everybody who's joined us since the start, let you know that this has been recorded and you can type your questions out in the chat box. So let's have a look here and see. We're a small company and we have what a prime GSA holder needs. Can we enter into a CTA even though our company does not have a GSA schedule, but the prime does?
Yes, the prime has a schedule. So, but we prefer the two companies both have GSA schedules because you have to agree on, you can put your labor categories in there from your company as the teaming partner, okay? But if not, you can come together underneath that company as a sub. I've seen some CTAs where they have one prime and the partner who does not have a GSA schedule, but then the company that has the GSA schedule can bring on additional subs as well as the teaming partner, okay? So it's ways to work it, but make sure your company talks it through and makes it sure that it works for you guys. It's like again, it's a risk, but sometimes, especially when you're dealing with new companies, you want to make sure you have the good relationship and that you can make things work out for the best for all parties. Okay.
Okay, thanks. The next question is, what's the difference between a teaming agreement, a partnership, and a subcontractor agreement?
Okay, like what I just said, you have to team and partner with someone in order to get to the subcontract, okay? So you need to make the team that or company you're teaming with, privy to the RFP requirements and the portion of work that you want them to perform. So the type of entity that you decide to bring in and how they're coming to work with you has to be fully documented and agreed upon, okay? But once the contract is won, then you become a subcontractor unless you're under the CTA, where it's both companies are looked at as one unit. And technically, that's the same way with a teaming agreement, because you are still transparent. It's just not as legally binding, okay? And it is a document that binds you, and there are rules and regulations to follow. But if you don't have all your documents in place, then you won't have a leg to stand on should things happen during the performance of that work, where you might have to either take the other party to the court, or try to resolve an issue, or could be for any reason, performance, payment, whatever, okay? So you want to make sure that you have someone review your documents to make sure that they're in line, especially if you get a template and you're building your own documents. You want to add the most important things in there, the things that are very important to the performance of that work, so that each party understands what they're getting from the other, okay? So, and you have to understand that you have to protect your company, because it's all good to team with people, but you have to understand that you guys have similar services, and you're doing work together on various contracts here and there. That same entity can be your partner on one bid, and then the next day, they're your competitor on a different bid. So it's advised that you do not disclose your proprietary information, or you make sure that the agreements, the NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, really that's the beginning of the relationship before you talk to anybody. You sign the NDA, then you decide that, yeah, I like this company and I'm gonna work with them. And then it goes, you need to give them a teaming agreement that puts down all the lay of the land for how this team is going to work together to get this proposal out, okay? And it gives them some preliminary decisions, or how, let them know how you intend to work with them once the contract's awarded. So then that stays in place until you move up to the subcontract after the award. So really, partnering and the teaming and the CTA and all that is preliminary to the subcontract. All right. So just if you keep that in mind, and the processes for each of those to get to that subcontract. Okay.
Okay, we'll move on and we'll do some more Q&A later on.
Okay, great. All right. So let's talk a little bit more about partnering. A partnership is a way of structuring a business that involves two or more individuals or partners, and it involves a contractual agreement, the partnership agreement between all of the parties, and sets the terms and conditions of their business relationship, including the distribution of ownership, responsibilities, and profit and losses, okay? So a partnership is something that's a little more legal, okay? And again, the paperwork behind it will call it what it is, a partnership, and define the entities and what they're all doing and responsible for. All right. So keep that in mind, but the government is very open to people teaming together to provide the best solution to the government requirements. So let's kind of backtrack in a way and talk about how you get there for those of you who are pretty much maybe new to government contracting. You need to understand the basic federal contracting rules, and I just want to review a few of those. Okay. You know, the government is the largest buyer in the world. You know, they sell both domestically and overseas. And the federal government is risk adverse, meaning it prefers known, certified, vetted entities. So those of you who are just getting in to federal contracting, you've probably already signed up for sam.gov, okay, because this is your ticket to start working in the government. Okay, you may have worked on commercial contracts to get some past performance, or you're using your past work history as your past performance, and you're getting into, you know, the federal government. The sam.gov platform is used across government federal contracting, and it has to be maintained throughout the life of your company. And if it should expire at any time, the government will definitely uh, require you to update your firm immediately. I mean, on an annual basis, this system has to be updated. Anytime anything changes on the sam.gov registration, you have to go in and make sure that it's accurate. This is how you even get paid by the government, okay? So even if you change banks, you have to go into SAM and change it first, okay? And then notify the various agencies you're doing work with that your banking information is changed so that your money comes to you automatically, okay? So that is nothing to be taken lightly. Somebody in your organization should always make sure that they're checking SAM, that your NAT code's up to date, and that, you know, the government wants to know that when you're bidding on a various solicitations, that your company has the NAT codes for that area. Now, you are allowed to go in, and if you see a bid you want to do, is to add that NAT code immediately so that the system is updated before you submit a bid, okay? Um, so just make sure SAM is up to date. You know, I was responsible for SAM registrations when I was working as contract administrator for companies that I grew up in. And, you know, it's a part of an everyday administering government contracts thing, okay? And you should treat it so. But again, it has to be a trusted individual who sees your information completely, that you trust, that won't share it with the world, you know? Um, the federal government, okay, I did that one about being adverse to. And I talked earlier about you vetting the people you work with, because, you know, that's just so important for your success. Long sales cycles are influenced by price, okay? Trusted entities and relationships, how you solve problems, and how easy it is to purchase your services and goods, okay? So, you know, you come into the government full transparency about what your organization has to offer and how you're going to follow through and do the best job on behalf of the government. I know you guys, if you've been around the federal contracting, you've heard of lowest price technically acceptable. A lot of people who start out new, you know, they want to get a contract so bad, they'll just jump on a LPTA contract and, you know, hope you'll get it by having the lowest price. But I caution that lowest price doesn't always mean you're gonna make you can make a profit on it. Okay, most likely you can't, or your budget's gonna be so slim that it's gonna get you in trouble if you don't have the resources to fill in, and you don't want to engage your company to pay them to do business with them. Okay, it's not worth it. Wait until you have all your ducks in a row and your qualifications match perfectly, and then go after some of these things that you know you can work and do well on without having to say I'm giving the lowest price. And as the company grows, you may be able to do some of those and do a good job on it, but you have to learn how to price it to win, but manage it to profitability. Okay, that's the term out there for pricing. that people use. And that's an art after you start doing it. You got to learn that. But just don't jump into the game trying to get the lowest price technically acceptable bid. Usually there are small purchases or lower in value. And the risk is on the contractor to do the work for that lower price. And you have to worry about, can I hire the people to do this work with the price that I'm getting? In actuality, I've seen people want to get work so bad, they don't even do a full price proposal. They'll go out and get rates from other companies, GSA schedule, for instance, say, oh, that's the going rate for that, and I'm gonna use that. And it doesn't reflect your company's operations. Okay. So therefore you could start performing and it still not be enough to cover the expenses you would incur doing that bid. And that's what your pricing should encompass. Complete pricing for everything that could come up so that you're getting reimbursed and you make a profit. Okay. You're not getting into this to be a failure. You want to be a success. So just do your due diligence and making sure that you're bidding on the right bids and that you can be successful. And now you can have a perfect proposal each time you send it out and good pricing, but it doesn't guarantee a win because of the competition that's out there. So, don't be faint of heart. Just keep pushing it. It's persistence with this business. You have to be persistent. You can't walk away once you depend on a couple of bids and you're not successful. And when you're not successful, you go to the government and ask, well, my proposal was rated high. How come I didn't win? They call it debriefing. Get debriefed. Find out, okay? That's all about this whole business is finding out why I didn't make it and how I can do it better. And that will help you grow, okay? I talked earlier about the FA. It's just another reference to resources. Small Business Administration is a wealth of help to you guys. They have several businesses that deal with them with certifications that they have, specialized ones like Hub Zone and 8A set aside, woman-owned small business, and just a small business designation itself. And I know that you can self-certify, but you need to do it in conjunction with SBA, knowing that you exist and being a part of their database as a small business. The federal government puts out RFPs that are set aside solely for small businesses and all of these special set-asides that are out there. The Veterans Administration has a set-aside program for veterans and disabled vets. So those of you who have those backgrounds, utilize these things. It really decreases the amount of competition, I'll say, that may occur when you're bidding. That happens when you're bidding on full and open requirements, meaning large, small, medium-sized businesses can go after full and open competition bids. And as a small company, you should play where you are really currently operating. So I would suggest you play in the small business realm and with any set-aside programs that you can. But later as you grow, you will qualify and have the resources to support going after those larger bids. And some of the ways is to get there is to subbing to those larger companies. Okay, so keep that in mind. Also talked earlier about the NAT codes and how they work when you're working with the type of bids you're doing, and having them in your SAM registration is very important. Just to reiterate, the small business certifications, these are just some of the goals that the agencies put out. And this could be a way that you can get into subbing, is finding out or being a prime, is seeing what bids have set asides attached to it and what that percentage is. And you have to look at whether that agency All agencies have goals, okay? So you need to do your research and find out what the goals are for each of these. But in general, the woman-owned small business certification is of 5%. If you're a disadvantaged small business, then it's 5%. If you're service disabled veteran-owned business, 3% for service disabled, and then 3% for Hub Zone certifications. Those of you who are not familiar with Hub Zone means that your corporate headquarters is located in a socio-economic depressed area, okay? And that you, by being a Hub Zone certified company, you are telling the government that I will utilize and hire people from that neighborhood who have been living under depressed circumstances to help work for my company and provide them with additional resources for economic growth. So those of you, who champion that sort of thing and want to be a part of that, then you should check on the Hub Zone from SBA, the Hub Zone certification. And I know several companies who are successful in the area. It's the administration of it. You have to maintain a certain level of employees who live in that Hub Zone, and that your corporate headquarters is located in the Hub Zone area. Okay. SBA, when you get into those programs, they score your company, okay? So be aware of that. Again, everything in the government is policed to make sure that people are doing what they should be doing, according to the FAR, according to SBA regulations. It's a way of grading you so that, if you need help, they ping you and say, hey, let's talk. You didn't meet your goals, or you didn't turn into reporting or whatever. It keeps you on your toes, okay? So if you're gonna get into one of those programs, you're gonna be monitored by SBA as well, okay? And the chart just gives you, again, some demographics about, how they divvy up the percentages. There's even a set aside for LBGQ individuals now, or companies. They have a 2% for that section of communities. So, keep in mind, the government is keeping up with the world and moving forward. Agencies receive a letter or grade, and this is kind of similar. 80% based on prime direct awards, 10% based on subcontracting, 10% based on your business plan and your plan to grow your company in the various sectors of the government. Okay. So please become familiar with that once you start becoming a prime contractor and a sub. Now, these are resources for direct subcontracting. Okay. Again, the SAM registration is important. The government recently changed over the last year or two from the DUNS number as being the driving factor to get you into federal contracting. And now they're using the unique entity ID, which is a UEI number, to identify the various companies. So everybody who's in SAM should have one already, okay? So once that's done, you're allowed to go ahead and finish your registration into SAM. And once you're in SAM and you're denoted as a small business or fitting under one of the set asides, your company is entered into the SBA dynamic database. And that's a place where you guys can go and look for other teaming partners, okay? Small companies can bid with other small companies too, as long as one has the expertise and they need the expertise that you have, and you come together as a team to perform that work. So do check out the dynamic database. So you're going to utilize all those resources we just talked about for being a sub, and we talked about it throughout this presentation. So, do refer back to these slides and, kind of make your plan, develop your special plan according to what you sell, or if you're a construction company, or if you're, selling products, you have help out there, and utilize that. You have the Apex Accelerator to go to for advice, or they help review the bids as you do them to make sure you're on track. Okay. But do have someone else other than yourself to kind of look at stuff, especially when you're just starting out. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about for direct contracting, being a prime contractor. Okay, some of the ways you can get information is contacting the agencies that you want to do work with, and talking to their small disadvantaged business utilization office. Okay, they call them OSTBUs. Okay, so the people are in place to actually direct you to the requirements in their agencies that apply to what you sell. Okay, you need to submit a capability statement or unsolicited proposal through their portal. Now, unsolicited proposals is something rare, but you'll see it from time to time when you're bidding. Once you start going out there, sometimes every now and then the government will say, hey, this is what I want in a proposal, but if you have an alternate proposal to submit, then do feel free. Okay. So think about that. There are ways, sometimes the government will come up with a predefined way of how they want a certain contract to run, but they're open to suggestions. You can provide some of that in the proposal, especially if it's a firm fixed price and you're trying to, give them some innovation in your solutions, but also some agencies will accept the unsolicited proposals. And the agencies that do it most are the scientific, like agencies like NASA and Science Foundation, stuff like that. They look for innovation in their response and from the contractors. Okay. You can attend industry days or open house for small businesses. Everything's kind of virtual, a lot still is. Some people are going back to face-to-face meetings, but do what you can and what you can do. If it's online, it's like this webinar, then that makes it easier. You don't have to travel anywhere, just be a part of it. And it's very interactive now. They even have rooms you can get into in the meetings on the Zoom calls or Teams apps, where you can actually talk to businesses and network together. Okay. You can go to the Fair Biz Ops, I'm sorry, that's the old section. Go to SAM and see if you can find out when industry days will come up. And online, I don't know if it's because I'm connected with a lot of federal gov stuff, but I get notifications on certain industry days that are coming up. So, once you start networking, you will be comfortable with that. Best practices for subcontracting. Okay, register on prime websites as a small business and team with other small businesses. Okay, so large businesses, well, usually the big boys have their own outreach for small businesses to team with. Okay, go out there to their websites and register your company. Okay, I have a couple of clients that are very successful, not even doing prime work at all, but just being a sub to other primes. So, depending on your niche, and that company is very happy with where they are. So according to your goals and where you want to be, you can be successful and make money from being a subcontractor. So consider it. You can go to FPDS, Federal Procurement Data Systems, and it lists all the primes that I've worked, that I have contracts and who they have them with, what agencies, and the specific NAC codes. You can go and look at that information and kind of get a feel for primes that you might want to get to know, that you might want to try to subcontract with. Okay, do that. Attend the industry days like we mentioned before. If you're not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn. Put your qualifications out there. Let them know who you are and what you want to do. Look for government contract events on the govevents.com website. Download from FPDS the top federal government contractors. Okay. If you want to be a sub to a larger companies, go out there. Identify prime contractors holding GSA schedules within your industry. All right. Look for matchmaking events put on by, I'm sorry, I'm still saying PTAC in this, and I need to change it to APACs, and I have to correct that. My apologies to APACs. But, look to those organizations, in addition, like SCORE, Chamber of Commerce, and the SBDCs, incubators, okay? They're out there for resources to help you guys, meeting with the APACs, they'll direct you to other sources as well. So, do get a counselor with them if you don't have one yet. It's very helpful, okay? Join organizations related to small business designations, okay? The Small Business Liaison Office should be one in every agency, okay? Common job title for the prime contractors who are seeking small business partner, okay? So Lockheed Martins and the Leidos, all of those big companies, they do subcontract, okay? I've worked as a subcontractor dealing with these companies, Booz Allen and Hamilton, okay? These are some of the larger companies that do subcontract to quality firms with some vast performance that can complement them. So keep in mind. Advantages of subcontractors. Agencies and primes have goals to contract with you. Agency advocates, see the OSBOs, okay? OSTBOs, we call them. Prime advocates. Mentor protege programs, okay. And I didn't mention that, that's put out by SBA. And if you want to form one under SBA, you need to go and complete their application, and then have a large business that who's willing to be your mentor, and form a program with them to teach you a specific aspect of government contracting, okay? They help and nurture you to grow in those areas. So you can have one mentor protege, or two or three, but you really cannot have more than three, but each one cannot be doing the same service for your company. It has to be specific, okay? And so if you're thinking about that, contact SBA and get more information on that program. I've seen it be very helpful in growing businesses. You get to see how the large companies operate, how their proposal process goes, and all of those things, okay? And just keep researching. If you're interested in an agency, go out and learn about them. I always tell my clients to, just don't go out there and bid on everything willy-nilly that comes on sound.gov. Target your services to the people who buy your services the most, and then be consistent with them. Maybe 4 or 5, okay, that you want to concentrate on. I mean, really be hard hitting with them. Show up and see them on a regular basis so they get to know you, and once you get known within an agency, they look out for you, okay? They will something comes across their desk that they can give to you if you as a sole source through one of the set asides or something, they can do that. Or they'll let you know when things are coming out. RFIs, requests for information. The government, they do a lot of those. And also uh, another thing called sources sort. What they do is look for people who are qualified to do what they have to sell before they even put out the solicitation, okay? So to do respond to RFIs, okay? It can lead to contracts. It can lead to sole sourcing. You know, the agency comes up with a new requirement and they're not sure how to put it out. And, you know, and they want to choose one of the set aside programs and, or, you know, or small business areas. They will put an RFI to find out, well, who's qualified to do what I need. And so usually the RFI response is based on telling the government exactly how you would perform certain area or, you know, just your capabilities in general and how you're, you know, built as an organization. I've seen an RFI even be like a little mini proposal, although, you know, it's not going to be awarded, but it gives the agency insight as to how well would you perform their work if they were to put it out. So many times those RFI responses is only available to the people that respond to the RFI request. So do not ignore the sources sort and the RFIs. Again, people have been very successful in that area. So let's kind of review the agreement here about subcontracting with the government and partnering, teaming, all of that. You need to do your due diligence in advance, okay? Start out with your plan, know the agencies who buy what you sell, make a pointed, you know, a point to contact them regularly, do your research. And that goes on throughout the life of your contract. As you keep growing, you have to change with the times, make sure your company is growing in your areas of expertise, that you keep up to date your skills and your knowledge as an expert in that area. Keep researching. In fact, you know, you can get interns to help that if you're a small business, that you don't have to pay, you know, a nominal egg to. You can get a college student to do a part-time research thing for you for a stipend, you know, something like that. There are ways to get it done. Make sure when you're bidding that you're talking to people and you're getting recommendations from people about the best route to take for you to consider, okay? Think about how you're gonna hire and retain employees when you're bidding, okay? If you're not in a product service, but even a products company needs people. So you have to, you know, think about that HR or human capital aspect. Make sure your agreements, your NDAs, your teaming agreements, and the other documents like a CTA or partnership agreements are done properly, and that you either have a resource for contract administrator or a contract lawyer to help review some of these agreements and make sure that it protects your company and it's for your best interests to do business with these companies or entities, okay? And the thing about it is just, you know, make sure that your risk is minimal, okay? Because certain kind of contracting vehicles, like I mentioned earlier, really the risk is on the contractor, and the government doesn't take the highest risk. And I'll tell you that now the firm fixed price is where the contractor has the most risk, because they have to get all of the work done and deliver the deliverables to the government, you know, based on the price that they provide, okay? DOD usually issues a lot of cost plus fixed fee type contracts where the risk is on the government because they have to reimburse you for all expenses that are incurred on that particular contract. And that's the best of the worlds, right? It's just that it's a hassle to administer. So you may be needing an extra contract administrator when you have enter into a contract of that type. But as you grow and learn, you'll know what's best for your company. And as you constantly still go out and meet people and hear what's happening new, what they're doing now, and how to stay abreast of those things, you'll be ready. Okay. Look at what you're bringing to the table. Okay. And make sure that that's represented in your capability statements. All right. And, like I said, look for who needs your services and products. Small business goals. If you are small, you're going to start out small anyway. You're going to be a small business, and you want to make sure that, you're looking for people who have the larger companies who have those goals to meet, and see how your company can work with those companies. All right. Make sure your personnel have the right expertise. Okay. You're going into business because you feel that your organization has the right expertise in the field that you've been living in for a while. Okay. Make sure that in your organization you define roles. The government likes to see a well-structured company. Okay. And in your agreements, make sure that there are times when companies will team with you, but they don't want to be exclusive to you for a certain requirement. But think about what that means for your company. That's one of the main things that we usually have to sit down at the table for. When you're asking another company to be a subcontractor, and they want to be on your team, but they also want to be on two other teams from two other companies bidding on the same bid. Well, hopefully that's disclosed and you know that what they're doing, but that agreement that they're signing would usually, I suggest that it's always in there, but if it's some situation where they teaming partner may want to take that out and say, no, I'm not exclusive. The only time that I've really changed that in an agreement has been when it's for an indefinite quantity type contract, where it's task orders issued. And what we end up changing the language to is saying that you cannot bid on the same task against the company that you are already engaged with. So it's okay to be under the same DPA, but when it comes to a certain task, then that sub would have to bow out if they are already engaged by another company under that same DPA. So, exclusivity is important because, again, like I mentioned about people becoming your competitor the next day, even though you've been teaming with them on certain other contracts. Okay. Make sure your payment terms are well defined. Getting paid is what it's all about. That's why you're in this federal business. So, make sure that all of those things are checked off in your agreements. Some of the other things like non-solicitation of employees. Okay, hiring costs money, and as an organization, you don't want a revolving door. So you pick people that you choose to work with you, and you want to make sure that they're happy and they want to come and grow with you. Okay. One of the terms in the subcontracting agreement is not to solicit other people's employees without permission. Okay, it has to be in writing. So unless that company is just bidding on a general ad for another requirement, but concerning that particular contract you're working on, no, you just don't steal people's employees. Okay. Prime agreement with agency. Make sure that, the prime agreement is legitimate. You most likely as a sub won't see the prime contract, and the prime should not disclose it to you. Usually subcontractors are not privy to even the final proposal that goes out that you put together. As a sub, you only provide responses to the area you're going to be performing in. And the prime is in control of that submission and interaction with the government. Okay. Have APACs or a government agency or contracts administrator review agreements prior to its signing. So if you're new and you don't have a contract administrator, you might want to use APAC services. So again, make sure you're signed up with APAC so you have a counselor who can help you out from time to time. Excuse me. And all of your documents should be reviewed to make sure that you're protected. You don't want to end up in court. You hear about bids go out that, companies end up in protests and all of this stuff. You want to avoid those hassles and really have smooth sailing. It's better to make sure that, you dotted all your I's and crossed all the T's in the beginning before you actually sign off on these things. Even the government contracts that come across the table need to be reviewed, okay? I had a previous client of mine ended up in court with GSA over language in the contract that it ended up being the fault of both parties. So, some kind of settlement was made, but, it was just that nobody caught that when the amendments came out and the changes were made. And so the right wording wasn't in that contract to really protect. And then at the end of the contract, they looked back and said, oh no, we did something wrong, or we didn't check X, Y, and Z. No, you have to be 100% comfortable when you sign your name on that contract document, and the people you employ to do that or consult with to help in those areas. Make sure they're competent and they know federal government contracting and know how to reference the FAR and any other resources that you have that would, help you through this process of navigating the legalities of the documents that you're signing. Always start out with an NDA when you're talking to potential teaming people. Okay, you're talking about the future of your company. This is a company I want to talk to. They've been doing it. I've been doing it. But you want to have trust in the companies you deal with. So integrity is everything in your business dealings. But make sure you're constantly protecting your materials, and that if you give them information that is tracked and they're not sharing it with other firms who are your competitors. Okay. And that's technical and pricing. Okay. Is something you need to hold close to your organizations. And I think you can be successful. Use the resources that are available and, get into the GovCon organizations out there. There are several. Like I mentioned, LinkedIn, if you look out there, you'll see a lot of people within the federal and in the civilian world who are part of organizations who actually help. As a contracts manager, I'm a member of the National Contract Management Association, and it's the NCMA. And contractors can become a part of that organization as well. And you get a lot of insight. You get to meet some of the government people after hours. They have monthly meetings and events. I was honored to speak at one of the symposiums that the Contract Management Association had back in April of last year, and looking forward to the annual conference this year that's going to be in Tennessee. So, start networking with the right people and letting them know who you are and what you have to offer. And I think you guys will be successful. So let's talk about the takeaways for today. All right. All right. Number one, you need to, be aware that you're getting into contracting and it's a very competitive market. So look at it and think about how successful you can be. Okay. And when you take it on, make sure that you're persistent. Make sure that you're developing the right relationships that can help you foster and grow your company. All right. You need to show the people, the government workers, the people you're trying to sell to, what is your value, and what is your value add, and what niche are you bringing to the table? Okay, size matters, but lead with capabilities, not size. And I say that to you, small businesses. Okay, don't come in there like the little poor Black or disadvantaged company that needs some help. You come in there with your expertise. I may be small, but I can do what you ask me to. I can recruit, I can, surround myself with the resources I need, and financially we're stable, we can grow, we can be positive, okay? You're capable. That's why that capability statement is so important, you know? You put that out there, and you may let them know that, hey, I can do that, get certified in all these set-asides that apply to your company. They are avenues to additional revenue, okay? So, you might start out as a one-man band, but as you grow into these different areas, you're going to be hiring other marketing people or business development people to help grow your companies. Business development is the life of your company. That's what's going to bring those new contracts in, okay? Look at who your competitors are, know them, and also collaborate with them if you can, okay? So don't look at it as, well, they're doing this, I can't talk to them. Well, under certain circumstances, hey, you can complement each other. So don't forget that option, all right? So, you know, just take your time and really get organized before you start jumping into doing business, so that when you come to the table with the different agency representatives, you're strong and feel like you can really uh, talk to them and get them interested in doing work with you. That's what it's all about, okay? And that the people who represent you are doing a well job of going out and representing you as well. Because no man is an island. You're going to need people to help grow your companies. Make sure your choices of people are good, and you're going to have you can have fun doing this as well. It's not, it can be stressful, especially doing the proposals and pricing and all of this stuff required to win, and negotiating with the different companies you deal with and stuff like that, and with the government. So, it can be exciting, and I wish you all well. This slide provides with, links to other things you can Google to help with your federal contracting journey. So do look at that and see which ones can be of assistance to you guys. Okay. Hey, Yasmin, I think we're here at the end of the presentation, and if anybody else has any additional questions.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Arlene. That was great. So yes, now's your opportunity to type out your questions for Arlene. If there's anything we missed earlier, or if you'd like her to reiterate anything that she presented. So yep, take advantage of this time. And whilst we're waiting for you to type out your questions, do you want to talk about your special offer today?
Oh, yes. Yes. Thank you, Yasmin. I do offer a free 10 to 15-minute consultation with anybody who wants, to talk about me or get talk with me or ask an additional questions later. And talk about my services and how I could be able to assist you in your journey. Please take me up. These are the various ways you can get in touch with me at the bottom of the slide. My LinkedIn, I have the calendar on my website where you can actually schedule your 10-minute consultation, and my websites. So do take advantage of that, please. I'd like to hear from you guys.
Okay, yep, that is a great opportunity to sit down and get one-on-one advice from Arlene, who has many, many years of experience. So please do take advantage of that. Okay, so let's see. Somebody's asked about the HubZone program. So I'll put a link in the chat box that tells
Okay.
you all about what exactly is the HubZone program, how to qualify, get certified as a HubZone small business, how to maintain your certification and find opportunities within that program. So please do take time to look at that. It's a very good program. Let's see, lots of thank yous for the information. Great job, Arlene.
Yeah,
There's a
thanks.
question about, can you do a 1099 under a CTA?
Well, normally not. I mean, a 1099 person is usually like a consultant. And in those CTAs, we're talking business to business. So you may have a consultant that might want to work to one of the entities and still bring that value add into that agreement, and as a consultant to one of the parties. But normally those agreements are business to business.
Okay, well, that seems to be the only question we got. So I will just wrap this up and remind you that your Maryland Apex Accelerator counselor is here to assist you. If you do not have a counselor and you feel that you qualify for counseling, all you need is a Maryland business that is established and that you can prove that you have past performance, then do complete our application form online and we will assign a counselor to work with you. I've also posted a link in the chat box to our calendar of events where I'm always adding classes and outreach events. They are all free. So please do take advantage to sign up for the ones that interest you. I'd like to thank Arlene again for a great presentation, and we hope to see you all at a future webinar. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Have a great day.